Hello, everyone. The time is now 5:33, and I'm calling to order the South End Landmark District Commission on June 2nd, 2026 public hearing. Commissioners present are myself, Catherine Hunt, John Freeman, Christopher DeBoard. Today, the commission will be holding a public hearing to review applications in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, extending the suspension of these provisions until June 30th, 2027. We are conducting this meeting online. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the South End Landmark District Commission, the public may access this call through telephone and video conferencing. This hearing is being recorded. All further conversations among commissioners should be audible to the public in attendance until the hearing has adjourned. Are there any media or elected officials currently present? If so, please raise your hand using the Zoom meeting platform and state your name, title, and affiliation. Do we see anyone raising a hand? No. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand in the application via the Zoom meeting platform. We will repeat these instructions throughout the hearing. So we have an agenda tonight. First up is ratification of our May 5th meeting minutes, then design review, then administrative review, staff updates. So do I hear a motion to ratify the May meeting minutes?
I move that we ratify the May meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion. It's been seconded, so the meetings are ratified. I will note that Commissioner Felicia Jacques is now on the call. Okay. Shall we proceed then? To design review. Our first application is 139 West Canton Street. The proposed work is to install a roof deck. And is there someone here representing the applicant?
Yep, I see them, but before I allow them to unmute themselves, I'm going to read the staff comments. So the applicants for this project presented in May 2026 at the hearing for their proposed roof deck and windows. The application was approved with the provisos that the applicant submitted design review application for future rooftop mechanical equipment. Preliminary review of the windows be remanded to staff, and that the forward roof deck railing to be set back. Staff and the applicants have since met on site to discuss the provisos and where the mechanicals were deemed exempt, and the windows have since been approved by staff. The applicants want to pursue their original roof deck configuration. The roof deck is visible from both Montgomery and Dartmouth Street, but visibility is minimal. Staff recommends to approve as submitted. And again, just for reference for the commission, here are one of the photos taken with the original roof deck. If you could see my cursor, you'll see the mock-up right here at the edge of this property. And this one is the visibility from Montgomery. And then moving on to, I will show the photo. So it looks like it's just that one. But that is Montgomery, and then the visibility from Dartmouth is also minimally visible. And then I see the applicant, so I'm going to unmute them.
Thank you, Jackie.
Jackie, I have a question for you. Is that the opening in the middle of the block, or is that the end closer to West Canton?
That's the end closer to West Canton.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Matt and Joe, I've since unmuted you.
There we go. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather, but I'll do my best to push through. Thank you for seeing us again. And as Jacqueline noted, this is the roof deck layout that we had proposed previously.
Joseph,
And
excuse me, you just have to state your name for the record. Could you do that and then proceed? Sorry.
yes, definitely. Thank you. I'm Joseph Kennard. I'm the architect on 139 West Canton Street. And also here with me is Pedro Ojeda, the homeowner, and Matt Eckel should be here as well, the attorney for the project,
Okay, thanks very much.
certainly. So am I able to draw on this?
You
Yes.
should be able to.
On your bottom left corner, there should be a little pencil.
Yes. So previously, when we were here, we had some mechanical units that were shown as going there. We hadn't finalized it yet. And the ask was for us to move the deck back and push those mechanicals back to help reduce their visibility. Since that time, and with staff on site, we were able to relocate the mechanicals so that they aren't visible from any public way. And so we'd just like to request for that 1 foot 6 inch bump out to remain. We feel it actually benefits the roof deck because you can see there's planters dotted in along there. They're intending to plant the perimeter of the deck. And so when you look from the street, you would see trees, and then you would see more smaller trees up there to help kind of preserve the privacy from the roof deck occupants, as well as from the very limited visibility areas. I do have a floor plan, or I do have other things to show if needed, but I don't know if anybody has any comments on that.
Oh, so that's the end of the presentation, Joseph?
Yes, essentially.
Oh, okay. Questions from commissioners? John Freeman?
I have no questions. It seems pretty clear.
Chris DeBoard,
I
any
have no
questions?
questions.
I'm sorry, was that yes
I
or
have
no?
no questions.
Oh, thank you. Felicia?
No questions.
Mm-hmm. Any comments? John?
Peter's here also.
Haven't seen that. Welcome, Peter. Do you have any questions for this applicant, Peter?
I do not. Nope,
Well, let's go to comments and we'll stick right with you. Any comments?
no. No comment.
Thanks. John Freeman, any comments?
I think they've done what we asked them to do.
Terrific. Chris?
Agreed. Let's move forward.
Okay. Felicia?
No comment.
Okay, great. I think we're ready for a motion.
I'll make, go ahead.
John, okay. I move that we accept this project per staff recommendations and per drawings, and there you have it.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
So we now should go to public comment to see if we have any public comment before we vote on the motion. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Do we see any hands? Or Sarah, Rachel, Jackie, did we receive any written comment on this?
We have not received any written comment.
I'm not seeing any raised hands.
Great. So we have a motion. It's been seconded. We shall vote now. John Freeman,
Aye.
Felicia,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye as well. So the application is approved. Thank you, Joseph, for your presentation. Thank you, guys. Matt?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. Moving on to the next application, which is 330 and 334 SHAWMUT Avenue. The proposed work is to, at front, install a new gate and ladder to lowered area for access to the fire department connection. Now, this applicant was before us for an advisory review, so
Yep.
we shall go to the presentation. Do we have a representative here?
We do, and while the representatives are raising their hand, the staff recommendation or the staff comment is that the applicant came to the May 2026 hearing under advisory review to discuss the proposal. Staff has since met on site to review the mock-up of the latter. Staff recommendation is approved as submitted.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. So I'm seeing Social Impact Collective. 2 hands are raised. Could you state your name?
Here we are.
Record? Hi.
Hi.
So, Mr. Social Impact?
That's right. Yeah, my name is Michael Chavez. I'm the architect working with the Davis Square Architects, and Social Impact Collective is the name of my architecture firm. We have other representatives here too. Maida from EBA is here. Peter and Nina are both here for consultants with the owner, and Maureen Kavanaugh with PAL, who's the historic consultants, also on if we have any questions for anybody else. I'll lower this hand. And do I share my screen, or do you have the information here?
We have the most updated presentation, but if
Okay.
you'd like to share your screen, we can also do that.
It's whatever's easiest for you.
All right. It's right here.
Okay, great. So here we have 2 properties, one at 334 SHAWMUT Ave and the other one at 330 SHAWMUT Ave. And at a prior approval process, we were working to get this fire department connection installed in the side stair of the building to keep it minimally visible from the street. We were able to work that through with you and the fire department. However, to be able to access this location, which is in a lowered area in front of the buildings, we were also discussing with the fire department a small stair that would allow us to get down into that pit if they ever needed to access that fire department connection, which they were okay with. So to be able to put the stair in, our proposal tonight is to both install this stair, and it's the same condition in both buildings. We have this lowered area on both the same side of the building, on the right-hand side of the stair, to install the stair and to be able to access the stair via a new gate in the fence that's there right off the sidewalk. And so the photos that you see here is the mock-up of the stair that we have. We tried to purchase the actual stair that's going to be going in there. It's the exact same size. This was built to the specification of the stair that we're proposing, just happens to be made out of wood instead of metal. But it will be essentially attached in the exact same way here. It's the exact same size, shape, steps are exactly the same, and it will be in the same location as the metal stair that we are going to be installing. The metal stair will be painted in the shop, same color black to match the fence and the railings and the fire escapes and everything that are common to the area. To ensure that it's minimally visible from the street. And I think the next couple photos on this, maybe the next sheet, shows some other angles of the stair from the sidewalk and the views that we would see or not see of that actual stair. Yeah, so here's some additional views if you're walking down the sidewalk. That stair, the mock-up is still in that lowered area. So the stair is, again, really only visible if you're standing over the railing looking down into that lowered area there. But if you're just walking a pedestrian walking through, you really wouldn't see it. And again, that gate will be installed in that same corner where the fence is now, using the same material as would be in that space. And I think, Nina, did you have your hand up that want to talk, or was that left over? Is this leftover hand up? And so, yeah, so these are some photos of the 334 SHAWMUT Ave. The next couple sheets are from 330 SHAWMUT. We haven't installed the fire department connection on the sidewall of the stair there yet, but that's the condition of the sidewall. And then the exact same lowered area. So we'll have the same stair and that same location in the corner on the right-hand side. The fence is the same. So again, we will put the same kind of gate in that same location. I think the next image has a couple other additional photos. And then this particular at 330 here, there's an existing fence that separates the building at 330 from the neighbor with this location. So that fence will stay the same and will remain there. And we'll be adding a new fence at 334 that will match not this one, but the other fence, just the simple vertical elements that are inside that fence as well. So those are some visuals, and we also have the architectural drawing. I don't know if that was something that you might have, Jacqueline, or if you want me to share that, if that's helpful at all. To show
You
the
can share
gate.
that.
Okay.
Is that the end of the presentation, Michael?
I just want to show the architectural drawing real quick, just to show the gate condition that we were
Oh, yes.
discussing, just so you can
Good,
see
thank
that
you.
as well.
Thanks.
Let's get this here. So this is just it's a plan and an elevation. I can zoom in here a little bit of the 334 SHAWMUT Ave building, which is the first version you saw. So again, in plan down here at the bottom, this is the stair right off the sidewalk, which is in the front here. We'll have the gate that swings this direction. And if I zoom in to the elevation here at the top, this is the gate that we are proposing. And so we're making sure that the gate is essentially the exact same size, material and everything else as the rest of the fence. So really the only thing that we're adding is this new post down here to where the gate's going to connect, as well as the hinges on this side. But all the rest of the materials will all be the exact same as the fence itself, as the fence is now. So I think that would be the presentation. The other building is the exact same condition. Again, fence is the same as 334. The gate would be in the same location. The stair would be in the same location, with basically just a mirror condition of those two buildings in those areas. And then this is the stair itself. So again, this is the stair that we'll actually be installing. It is metal. It's actually a little bit thinner on the sides than our mock-up, because our mock-up is wood, not metal. But this will be painted black in the shop to be able to match the other materials, and it'll be just mounted on the sidewall of the interior side of that lowered area as well. Yeah, be a couple screws.
Okay, so that's the end.
That's my
Michael?
presentation. That's right.
Okay, thanks a lot. Let's go to commissioner questions. John Freeman?
Is there a handrail?
There is not.
My same question, thank you.
There's not. It's just less than 3 feet of depth, and they said as long as we have the fence that runs along the side here on that corner, that they'd be fine with us leaving it as it is, with just that 3 steps down.
And how do you keep the public from using this? Is there a lock on the gate? Fire department only or something?
I don't know if ownership might have an answer to that. I mean, generally the gate would be unlocked, most of the time, meaning that if the fire department did need to get access to it without having to cut it, I guess we could put a lock on it if that was something that the fire department would be okay with, that they could cut. I guess that's something we could run by them.
And it's swinging onto the street. Have you considered the code on this? Is that allowed that it swing onto the street like that?
From a code perspective, there's not really code for this particular condition. It's a little bit more of a specific fire department reviewed and approved condition that they would be okay with, and so they were they were okay with the condition of a gate, that particular stair, and then having to go down there to hook up their hoses to that fire department connection. But there's not a specific code that talks about that.
So this is more like dunnage on a roof. This isn't I'm trying to help this out here. I'm not being a pain. This is more like an access stair that you would have to mechanical equipment on a roof. It just happens to be in this front area.
That's right.
So I think we need to talk with the commissioners. Our regulations don't allow gates in front gardens because there never were historically. I think there's no other place that I can see for the fire department connection. And this has been something we've dealt with in the past. Usually we review the location. I assume that you did that with staff, but I think it's probably the place it has to go. But I do think we have to do something to make sure that this is not seen as a stair to a garden, especially for the people who live there. But that's outside of our purview, but I imagine you want that too. So actually, I guess I'm trying not to get into comments, but that was my questions.
John, excuse me, I'm seeing a couple hands raised, and I'm wondering if those are applicant representatives who want to address this question.
Correct.
Nina, would you state your name and go ahead and respond?
Peter, did you want to start?
Oh, okay.
I'll defer to Peter Munkenbeck, representative for EBA, the applicant.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Just very briefly, I'm Peter Munkenbeck. The height of the fence is just a little bit higher than your knee. So the issue of, access, anyone can simply step over. So I think getting into a locked gate that's only maybe, I don't know, 24 inches high, I don't think it would add much to the, it wouldn't impede anything, I guess. I just wanted to say, I think it's probably just simpler with simple.
How deep is the garden?
It's
Or the-
33, 34 inches
From the top of the curb, correct.
from the top of the
About
curb.
there's about 30 inches from the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you open the gate, step over a 6-inch curb onto the first step, and then you have 2 more steps to get down.
Yeah, I understand so the code is out, I mean, this is not our purview. But I guess I don't understand why this is an existing fence.
Yes,
Because typically if you have a drop of more than 30 inches, you're required to have a guardrail.
yes, and a taller one than this. I think we're relying on the fact that we're not changing anything in this except for putting the gate into it exactly as it is, that we won't run into a problem about why isn't it 42 inches high.
Right. Okay, those are my questions.
Peter Sanborn, Commissioner, do you have
Yeah.
questions?
Is there a reason you did not have the gate swing in, say, against the abutting property?
It was more for the fire department. I guess we could run that by them again. I think it was more of they prefer to have it swing that direction over the sidewalk so that it's not kind of banging back against them again. This particular image here, there's a new fence that will be installed that's matching this one along this edge here as well. And so I think they preferred to have those gates swing that direction, but we can ask them if they preferred the other way. Is this a preference on your end?
Okay, and I have a second question, Catherine. I think I only saw it quickly, but from the sketch of the new fence, it looks like there's a post at the edge of the gate, but there's also an intermediate post that's a couple of pickets, 1 or 2 pickets to the left. Is that correct?
Or yeah.
Want to zero in?
Yeah, you're in a C.
Yeah, so there was, I think we're showing there's an existing post here that was in the middle of that fence. So we're just adding this new one for the gate here in this condition. And 330, I believe it's similar. So yeah, there's an existing one here. We're just adding a new one for the gate, where the gate would be located, the width of that stair.
So my question would be, is there a reason that we could not eliminate one of those posts and either have if we eliminated the new post, then have a wider gate? Or if the new post is needed, eliminate the middle post?
I think we want to eliminate widening the gate because you wouldn't want somebody to think that if they went through the gate, they would not, that we worry about them missing a step. If the step is 24 inches and the gate is, 40 or 45, we'd worry about them missing a step. I think your other question is a fair question. Could we eliminate that post? I think it depends how much of the fence we want to rework. And I think, that's really more, that's your purview. If you tell us that you would want us to, we would rework the fence. But if you'd rather have us preserve as much as possible, we would do it this way.
Thank you.
All set then, Peter, with questions?
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. Felicia, have you any questions?
Consistent with Peter's question, I think if we could sort of rework that existing column for it to be just a straight run, And without compromising any of the structural integrity, that would be preferable. And if you could go back to the image where you show where you step down off of the stair here. Did you say that even though the fence swings out, there's going to be another piece of picket fence that's going to go along that concrete separating the, I guess the two property lines?
Yes. Yes. There looks like there was one here at one point that was cut.
Okay.
And you can kind of see if I zoom in a little bit, the old posts that were there.
Uh-huh.
Looks like the pickets were kind of all the way down. So the idea here was that we wanted to separate that so folks in this, this is an actual garden space I think that people
Right.
use, wouldn't be climbing over. We'd be able to kind of separate that out and ensure that only the fire department's really coming down into this space.
And you'd want that to occur with your project, not necessarily your neighbors.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And so we would match this fence, and then the other at 330 that had the fancy fence that was already existing that will remain there.
Mm-hmm. And this mock-up, as you said, it was a wooden step, but it's going to be metal.
Yes, exactly. So that this mock-up was built to this specification right here. So this is the actual stair that will be used, but it has the same size and everything that will be used here.
Okay. Thank you.
I want to state for the record that Commissioner John Amadeo has joined, and I will finish up as chair after this application, and then he will act as chair. So, Chris DeBoer, do you have any questions for this applicant?
I have both questions and comments. My comments are just pretty much that fence is obviously not historical. They are trying to blend in a gate that might be used once, might be used twice into this facade of the building. They're trying to do whatever the fire department wants. I think that we should let them put the gate in there, one-time use. Firefighters are going to go use. They're not going to remember whether there's a handrail there or not. No one's going to walk in there. I think we should just appreciate what the fire department has done, appreciate what they've brought to us, and move forward.
Okay, John Amadeo, any questions?
I don't have any questions, but are you on comments?
No, not yet.
Okay, I will hold
Despite,
my comment until you
Thank
say so.
I'm the last one to go with questions, and I just want to ask something quickly, and that is, refresh my memory, either Jackie or whoever, maybe one of the commissioners. Did the fire department actually check in with staff when this equipment was installed, or do they just do it?
Typically, it's two different processes. So the applicant would work with the fire department to install a FDC, but before installing it, they would come to the South End Landmark Commission for approval.
And did that happen?
Yep. So the
Yes.
location of their proposed FDC at 334 SHAWMUT was approved. Same with 330.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. Now I guess we'll go to comments. Oh,
Catherine, I
sorry,
have another comment, I guess.
a
Or
question?
another question, please.
Yep, go ahead, Peter.
I may have misheard this, but I heard that at 330, you're planning to retain the more ornate fence.
Correct.
Is that? Yes?
Yes, this will remain in place. This is the fence here.
And so how are you constructing the gate? Is the gate going to be made from that, or is the gate going to be entirely different?
So the front fence that where the gate will be installed in is the simpler, maybe non-original fence that was on the front here. This more ornate one is the side fence that separates this lowered area from the neighbor's garden space, which is kind of in this corner here. So that ornate one you see kind of goes off to the right, and then this is the front fence facing the street. And so this is the one that will be left that separates the neighbor's space from our lowered area to ensure that they're not climbing over here. And the gate will then be installed on the front in this corner to match the existing front fence that's here now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, Peter, do you want to just roll into comments then?
my comment would be as Felicia articulated, it would be highly desirable, I think, to eliminate one of the posts. So it sounds like possibly the most logical approach to this would be just to have a post at the end of the gate. And I think that it would be good to have the gate swing in rather than out into the sidewalk.
Okay. That it?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. John Freeman? Comments? Going
I
once?
think we're gonna have to treat this as a unique situation, but I'd like to defer my comment for the moment. I'd like to hear what John Amadeo has to say about this first.
All right, let's go to John Amadeo.
I concur with Felicia and Peter about the reduction of the number of posts. So a revision that could reduce the number of posts would be great, so that there aren't two posts within a foot of each other as shown in the architectural drawing. And secondly, I agree with John Freeman about treating this as a unique situation. I think the reason we have a regulation that says that there are no gates to the front gardens refers specifically to the pathway that connects to a door, an access door under the stoop to the floor beneath the parlor. And this building doesn't have that condition. You know, where people have requested to gate off that path, we have denied that because the regulations say that path shall not be gated. But I don't think a gate in this location is what the regulations are referring to. Actually, when whole gardens have been surrounded by a fence and an applicant has asked for an access gate into the garden to be able to maintain it, we have actually approved that in the past. So I think there's a precedent for that. So I probably surprisingly to some or maybe all of my fellow commissioners, I don't see a problem with this particular gate for those reasons.
Well, that's excellent background. Excellent, John. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, I have one comment then.
Yeah.
I do think that what I would like to have is one proviso in the assuming that we're going to approve this, because I agree with John and former other commissioners. But should there be any code questions, it should be brought back to staff.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, John. I think we've had comments from everyone else except myself. So I am going to say that here we are in this image looking, everyone can see these lintels are not appropriately painted. And I'm wondering if that's an item, perhaps an administrative review?
No, I'm just gonna jump in here really quick. Those lentils have, I looked into it, have been white since at least 2007, just by looking at Google Street View. So whenever the applicants decide to refinish their lentils or touch up on that, we'll give them proper direction.
I think it'd be great if they would consider adding this to this project. They've got all sorts of, you know, construction activity going on. Wouldn't that be wonderful, Michael?
I think you might see
Okay.
us in the future. Yes, in the near future.
Yeah, think about that. Think about it very strongly. Thank you. So we've had.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. We've had comments and questions. Peter Munkenbeck, your hand is still up. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, I just put it up. I just wanted, as you're approaching the end of your deliberations, I just wanted to ask that if it turns out that, well, first of all, let me point out that that post that's in the middle of the run there that you would like us to eliminate, if we were to basically cut it off at the level of the curb stone there, it would, and take out the section that's below the bottom rail, it would still be a fatter picket. Do you see? And I'm saying this because I want you to focus on the fact that if you told us you didn't want a post there, we might have to, do a lot of doctoring of the fence, and it might not come out very well at all. So I just want to point out that there's that caveat. And another is that if the fabricator said a fence of these dimensions is not going to span that extra 4 feet, it's going to be too insecure. We're just asking you to maybe make that a recommendation as opposed to a requirement, so that we could maybe come back to staff and say, here's what the fabricator says, and you would leave enough room for the staff to be able to vary on that. And the same with regard to the swing out or swing in. If the fire department takes a hard line on that you would have said what you prefer, but you will allow us in good faith to attempt to persuade them, as opposed to be in an impasse if they say no.
Yeah, good.
Right.
Points, Peter.
And
That cover?
I think I think
Chris?
we stated that as a preference, as long as there wasn't any compromise to the structural integrity. So I think we can say that it is the preferred path, but if anything impacts that, then I don't think that that's going to withhold.
I think that's great, Felicia. I think as a layperson, as someone who would install a fence like this, I wouldn't like that span personally, because I would think it would bow. First person that's leaned against it or sat against it might further bow it. So it's such a minor thing. And it's a fence they just want to keep as it is and put a door in.
Yeah.
Let's follow. Let's
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Nina, did Peter cover what you wanted to
did.
say? Okay,
Yeah,
very good.
Thank you. Thank
Sure.
you very much.
Yeah, I think we are ready for a motion.
I'll move that we approve this application as presented, with the provisos that the applicant investigate ways to reduce the number of posts necessary for the construction of a gate, without compromising the structural integrity of the gate or the fence. And that there was a second proviso, I can't rember what it was.
Two, I think.
The gates
Oh,
were-
that the gate swing inward rather than outward, assuming that that would be acceptable to the fire department.
I have,
and any code issues would go back to staff.
And thank you, Chris. And that I would accept that amendment, that code issues would go back to staff.
meaning, if I can elaborate on that, meaning if there are any needed revisions because of code or any other question, any revisions, that comes back to staff. I also would like to have a rider on this, that this is a unique situation because of who the applicant is, the use of the building, and the existing condition, and doesn't set any precedents for front gardens.
Excellent addition.
Yep,
Accept-
good addition. Amendment accepted.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
That was John Freeman?
That was John, yeah.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. It's been seconded. We will now seek public comment. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. Do we have any hands raised, or had we received any written comment on this application?
I do not see any hands raised, and we did not receive any written public comment.
Okay, then we will vote on the motion. John Amadeo,
Aye.
John Freeman,
Aye.
Felicia,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
Peter, and the chair votes with the motion. So the motion is passed. The application is approved, and thank you all for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We thank you.
Very welcome. Thanks a lot. Good
Thank
luck
you.
with the job. Thank you. Now we will turn over chairing to John Amadeo.
Thank you very much for covering for me, Catherine. So the next application is 162 West Brookline Street. The proposed work is at the front garden. Install a new balustrade with simple ornamental design mimicking existing tree pit fencing located in front of the building. Existing newel post will be sandblasted and repainted. And Jackie, did you want to read
Oh, yes.
staff comments?
So, apologies for that. The existing garden fence includes historic balusters whose profiles match both the 1972 South End survey and the 1941 Bainbridge Bunting photograph collection photos. As such, staff recommends that the existing baluster is repaired, or if repair is not possible, replaced in kind. Regarding the proposed fence replacement, the small decorative cubes located along the midpoint of the fence posts are too contemporary for the historic neighborhood. It is unclear if the existing tree pit fence design, which includes small decorative cubes and is what the proposed fence design is based on, was reviewed by the commission before installation. As such, staff recommends a simplified design without the cube. Staff recommendation denial without prejudice. However, if they are willing to modify the design as stated above, an approval with provisos is recommended. And then I see the applicant.
Okay, good evening. Catherine Haynes. I'm a resident at 162 West Brookline, and my upstairs neighbor did submit the application that you have in your hand. I would like to thank both Jacqueline and Rachel for their help. They've been very helpful, as this is my first time ever in front of the Landmarks Commission. As you can see by our submittal, in some of the earlier photos, currently the existing metal fencing is rusted and in disrepair. So we would like to propose the following. We'd like to remove all the existing fencing and the large corner posts. The large corner posts in the existing fencing in front of our building are in quite good condition, so they would be cleaned, repainted, and reinstalled. And then for the fencing, we would have that refabricated. We'd replace both the top and bottom horizontal support rails with the same flat design that's existing. But then the change that we are requesting is to add the fencing to mimic the garden fencing that's directly in front of our building, with both straight posts that go up to the top horizontal rail, alternating with the design that you can see in this garden fencing. And that's what we're requesting, and I'd appreciate any comments from the board and the commission.
Catherine, I heard everything you said, and yet I'm actually quite confused as to what you're proposing. When you're speaking about replacing and repairing, could you refer to the photographs, like in the
Okay.
upper photograph
Oh,
or
certainly,
in the lower
certainly.
photograph?
So
So
the
I know
top-
which fence you're talking about.
The top photograph, yes, is the fencing that really is in dire need of repair. So the two large corner posts are in good condition. We'll have them removed. We're going to have them sandblasted, repainted, and replaced.
Okay.
Reinstalled.
You mean reinstalled?
Excuse me, reinstalled. Not very good at this.
Okay.
And
You're doing
then
great.
the front facing fence in photo 1, it's vertical bars, and in the application you can see these vertical bars and the horizontal bars are very rusted. And There's also a return that's very similar that goes down to the lower staircase. And that would also be removed. And what we're proposing to do is not to replace with same, but if you go to photo 2, the lower photo, replace with that type of fencing. So it would be a vertical bar, would be removing the spikes, would have none of the spikes that are shown on the top, in our top photo. And then an alternating bars that'd be that decorative square on alternating bars. Is that clearer?
It is clear.
Thank you.
But I have one other question, which
Certainly.
is, are you planning to do anything with the fence in the lower photograph around the
No.
tree pit?
No, in the tree pit, that's existing. It's on the sidewalk. And
Okay, it's just there as an example of what you want to replicate on
yes,
your
it's
garden
yes,
fence.
it sits actually, that fencing and that tree pit garden fencing is directly in front of the fencing on the top photo. It's
Okay.
approximately 4.5 feet in front of that.
Okay,
in the
great.
sidewalk.
Thank you.
You're very
That's-
welcome.
That's clearer for me now, and I hope it is for other commissioners as well. So, and if it's not, this is the chance to ask questions. So, Catherine, any questions?
Yes, indeed. And I apologize for being completely confused still. Catherine, so the tree pit is not what we're talking about here, even though.
Correct.
No, that's just for an example. The
That-
vertical bars,
Yeah, it's a
not the
shame.
corner posts.
Okay.
Just the vertical bars are what we're proposing for the
For the
vertical
fence.
fence in the front of our
Well, it's confusing because the tree pit looms large as the photo of focus, and then the fence along the garden we can barely see, but okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay. Felicia, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Chris, any questions?
Do we know if that fence in front of the house or the tree fence is original?
It does show in the survey that was done in the 1970s.
Okay, thank you.
70s as
1970s.
It turns
1970s.
19th century. Okay.
It turns back towards the house at the pathway, but is there a gate or no gate?
No gate.
Okay.
And if on the existing fence in the top photo, if you look beneath the bottom horizontal rail, there are other holes in the granite. So this is not the original fence from, and we do not know when it was replaced, but it does show in the 1970s survey.
Yeah, this is Rachel, commissioners.
Rachel.
And then if you also look at the photo from the 1941 Bunting Bainbridge photos, I think it's like, if you zoom all the way in, you can see that the fence in the 1941 photo is different than the fence in the 1972 photo, although it does have posts. If you, yeah, I don't know how well you can zoom in here.
Yeah, it's
Jackie.
hard to see.
But the individual, the element that they're planning to have removed and repaired and reinstalled, the baluster is present in both of those pictures. So staff felt that was really important that remained. We just felt that the cubes were a little too contemporary for the neighborhood, and would prefer, if they're going with the contemporary fence, a plain fence that doesn't have the cubes.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel. That was helpful. Peter, I don't think I've asked you yet for questions. Questions?
Yeah. Your house is one of, I think, maybe 4 flat fronts on that section of the block. maybe more than 4, but I think 4. So in front of each of those, the fences are different. I don't think any of them appear to be original fences.
Peter,
But
I think since you're right on this subject, 154 appears to me to have the same newels.
there are newels. I'm talking
the
about
same
the
corner.
main part of the fence alone, only. Not the newel post. I think the newel posts on here could very possibly be original. They're certainly very, very old, if not original. So my question is, why did you choose this design? Was it just due to the proximity of the tree fence?
Yes, that's correct. Just because of the proximity of the tree fence and its simplicity in design.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Just for the commissioner's knowledge, on the adjacent flat fronts is just a wide variety of styles, some quite ornate, some less ornate, but much more ornate than what's being proposed here.
Okay, thank you, Peter.
Yep.
Then we'll go to comments.
Well, John, I didn't have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I miss
Yeah,
you?
so
Go ahead, John.
my question is a follow-up on Peter's. And since one of the things we always try to do is understand what the original fence was, and this is a question I think for Jackie as well. Looking up and down the street, Peter's absolutely right. There's a lot of different kinds of fences. There isn't any real consistency, but on the flat fronts at I think 154, and I'm just looking on Google, it appears to have the same corner post, and it appears also to have a older, perhaps original balustrade fence. And I'm just curious if we should look at that. I'll defer because I'm not the expert on fences here. But is it worth at least understanding what might have been original?
John, what was the address of the fence you're
154.
looking at?
John, initially I thought that was an original fence,
Yeah.
but as I looked at it more closely, I think it's an authentic reproduction.
Okay, but do you think those newels are original and the fence itself was filled in?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
There's a very good chance of it.
Agreed.
Yeah, because if you look, John, at the applicant's existing fence, you can definitely see where posts had been placed into the granite in the past. So we know that this existing fence is a replacement. And if you look and zoom in at that photo from 1941, you can kind of get a sense of what the design may have been, but it's blurry, it's hard to tell.
But what you're
and
saying that 154 is not a precedent then?
I don't think 154 can be a precedent.
Okay.
We could, I'm just looking, of course, this is one of the ones that's blurred in the front. I think that 154 is definitely a nice reproduction. It's just unclear if it sets precedence for 162.
Okay. It was just because it had the same corner posts on both sides.
I noticed that the corner posts were pretty prominent in on that block, and you can find like a pretty similar copy in the Lawler catalog. So perhaps they are replacements from the Lawler catalog. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So are we at comments? Sounds like we might be. And So Catherine, do you have any comments?
Just a quick one that's kind of already been stated, but even going the other way toward the bow fronts,
Mm-hmm.
the fences are very, there's no consistency in the design, and they're incredibly ornate or not so ornate. So there doesn't seem to be any great consistency along that street.
Okay.
That's it.
Um, Peter, comments?
My comment is, given the flat front of the house, which is really a transitional Greek revival house, that if we're looking to get toward authenticity, I think the design, though fine, is not even remotely approaching what very likely could have been there originally.
And do you have a recommendation as an alternative?
I do not.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that out for consideration if it's worth any consideration.
Okay.
I mean, I guess if I needed to come up with one, I think I would consider a lyre style.
LYRE style.
Right.
Okay. So,
John, can I pop in with a question? Is
go
there
ahead.
is there any need for a fence to match what is existing at surrounding a tree pit?
No.
No.
Yeah, the answer is no there.
And I
Sorry.
wonder if the
So,
applicant, you know, they're
I would
trying.
like to add something. If that, it doesn't need to match the tree pit, we thought it might be a good option. I'd like to repropose that we remove the existing fence, keep the newel posts, the large posts, and reinstall them after they're reconditioned, and replace the exact same fence in kind, but new.
To match the existing
To
fence.
match the existing fence.
Okay.
And I've already discussed that with my neighbors as an option.
Okay. But good question, Catherine. And I think the answer is no, particularly since it's unclear whether that fence around the tree pit was ever approved by the commission. So to use that as an example would perpetuate a potential violation. So good question.
I'm certainly okay with that.
Mhm.
I'm certainly okay with, yes.
No, and
taking
your proposed
considering it.
alternative is a considerate alternative and something we could give thought to,
Okay,
Catherine. So thank you
thank
for
you.
that.
Sure.
Thank you.
And thank goodness their tree pit is not surrounded by a white picket fence, which I saw in two places on SHAWMUT Avenue.
Okay, well, thank you. So, Catherine, do you have any further comment that you want to add to your other comments or not?
No, thank you.
Okay. Peter, I'm going to come back to you because there's a new proposal on the table by the applicant. So do you want to comment on the applicant's proposal to replace what is there in kind?
That would be acceptable to me. This fence is actually an attractive fence, I think. It has a little bit of ornamentation and character, especially with the spikes that differentiate it from a strictly contemporary fence. So I wouldn't object to her wanting to replicate it. I looked at it, I actually didn't think it was in that bad condition, but the owners think it's in bad condition, then that's their decision.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you would prefer it be refurbished and restored and put back in place.
That was my quick look. I did not examine it in great detail, but
Okay.
certainly need some refurbishment at a minimum.
Okay. John, any comments?
I don't think I have anything to add at this point. Thank you.
Okay. Chris, comments?
Yeah. I agree that there are all sorts of fences in every street in this district, and it is hard to find a continuity in the fences. When I first saw this fence, I said that looks pretty Victorian. It could be quite original, or someone flourished it up even a little bit more. As someone who works in the field, there's a lot of things that owners think need to be replaced when they can be easily repaired, easily refurbished, and I always vote for that. We throw away too many things, and I agree with the new proposal that looks very appropriate for where it is. It may not have any matches on the street, but it's Victorian in nature. It says I've been here for a while. And to get the proper contractor to get in there and scrape it and paint it and replace it, you'll do good for the building, the neighborhood, and for the fence.
Okay, thank you. Good comments. Felicia, did I skip over you? Felicia, any comments?
I don't think you skipped over me. I think it's just my turn.
Okay, great.
I'm sort of happy that it sort of came at the end, because I feel much more comfortable with the proponent's new proposal. And just to clarify, I think your proposal was to remove and replace in kind, but further comments from commissioners seem to think that it could be removed, repaired and replaced. Would you be
I am certainly fine with that,
okay?
Alicia. Certainly fine with that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, then
Great.
I do think that the most recent proposal on the table is the most appropriate.
Excellent.
Yeah, thank you, Felicia. I would agree with all that's been most recently said about the new proposal. Looking at the newel posts, which are likely to be original, especially since they repeat down the street at a number of the other flat fronts, although the fence panels themselves do vary and are probably replacements. What's there now at your garden does seem to visually complement or work compatibly with the existing newel posts. And, we don't have anything really to go on. I think that 1940s photograph that Rachel showed, it was hard for us as commissioners on our screens to see enough detail to know if what's there currently is close enough to what was there before. But this fence is certainly old and it's compatible with the newel post. So I would see every reason to, repair what you have until, such future date as we get better documentation and can replicate what was there before. But I would be I would find it approvable to repair what's there. And the same kind of process that you would use for refurbishing the newel posts, you could do the same for the fence panels.
Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, so I think we're ready for a motion. Anyone game?
I will attempt at it. I move that we accept the modified proposal from the applicant. That the fence will be restored, I think is the right word for that. And if there are any issues with the reparation, if anything is completely unusable, I guess we would go to staff if there are any issues with replacement of different parts.
Sounds good, Chris. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Peter. So we have a motion, it's been seconded. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on the application and discussions. To do so, please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in and cannot use the platform, you can press *9 to raise your hand, or you can send your questions to staff via email at southendldc@boston.gov. And did we receive anything written, or is anybody raising their hands regarding comments?
No written comments, no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Then I think we can go to a vote. Chris,
Aye.
Felicia,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Catherine.
Oh wait, Catherine's unable to vote. I'm sorry to
Oh,
jump in here.
Thanks, Jackie. I wanted to ask that. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, Jackie. And the chair votes with the motion, so the motion carries. So thank you very much, and good luck with the project.
Oh, and thank you all for your dedication to the South End. I do appreciate it.
That's so
Yeah,
nice.
thank you, Catherine.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Catherine.
Have a good evening.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
too.
Okay, now for the next item on the agenda is to approve administrative review. And is it, I don't need to read these out, do I?
No,
Jackie? Okay,
No.
good. Good. Then I will take a motion to approve administrative review.
I move to approve the administrative
Wait,
review.
Catherine, you're unable to vote.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Why am I such a
I'll move
loser?
to approve the administrative review.
I can't even make a motion. I thought I could make a motion.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded, and we'll go to vote. Felicia,
Aye.
Peter,
Aye.
Chris,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
and the chair votes with the motion, so the motion carries.
So I've
So
been
now-
on this commission since 2007.
Catherine, I
Why am
spoke
I
too
in
soon.
such a bad position here? Jeez. Rather insulting.
Hmm. Well, staff
Put that in-
updates is
Put that in staff update.
Will do.
Catherine,
staff up. Go ahead, John.
commenting is more important than voting. Our votes are usually unanimous, but our comments are usually very informative. And we always appreciate your comments.
Oh, well, thanks
Right.
for boosting my ego, John.
Yep, well put.
Much needed.
But it's true.
Although, Jackie, as a point of order, I am an alternate on the BLC, and I have been able to make motions even though I can't vote on them.
I know. I was gonna say I spoke too soon. For some reason, I thought Catherine was voting, and I jumped in too quick. So
So-
So
apologies for that.
in the future, should this happen again, Catherine, you should be able to
Yes.
make a motion, even if you can't vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
I spoke
did-
too soon, Catherine. Sorry to
And you-
I
silence
think we
you.
should have a
And-
reconsideration of this most recent motion, so Catherine can.
No, that's all
No,
right.
right. Plus, you can also second a motion as an alternate without voting on it.
Yeah.
So you
thank
can either make the motion or you can second it.
Okay, thank you for that. I thought
You're
that's
welcome.
what it was, but.
No, you all
Yeah.
are right. I spoke too soon.
Okay,
Okay,
Jumped in too
Great.
quick.
all is forgiven.
that's great.
Um,
So Jackie, any staff updates?
Rachel's back.
Yay!
Hey.
Welcome back, Rachel.
Welcome back,
And just
Rachel.
also wanted to take a second to thank Sarah for everything that she has done. Sarah has been
Sarah.
excellent, and we're very lucky that she's still going to be here
Yay.
and helping
Yay,
us out as
Sarah.
well. But just want to put it on the record that Sarah is incredible. She's amazing, and she helped keep the South End moving. So thank you to Sarah.
Well,
Sarah and Jackie, you both did an excellent job during Rachel's absence.
Oh, thank
you.
you.
Neither of you skipped a step, or dropped a beat or whatever.
You're
It
here.
was, yep, it was
Appreciate
great.
it.
We didn't feel any interruption as commissioners.
That's the goal.
Uh-oh.
Yep.
Rachel's gonna feel like we didn't miss her.
Oh, of course we
no,
missed
I'm
Rachel.
thrilled. My colleagues did a great job.
Oh,
Yeah.
everybody.
Made
They did.
tending to a baby far easier.
But that is that's the extent of our staff updates, unless I'm missing on something, Sarah or Rachel?
I just want to make a little announcement related to staff updates, which is I recently had a phone call with Joe Cornish and with Liz Sherva with discussions about an upcoming or a potential upcoming commissioner training or refreshing for us, and we haven't had one in a while. And so nothing conclusive came of that, other than the fact that I think one is in the planning and that we will probably hear from staff about an upcoming training session. Is that right, Jackie or Rachel?
Exactly right. Yep. When we get the final details sorted, we'll reach out to all of you and get that sorted.
Oh, and
good.
he was asking me, Joe was asking me if there were any issues we felt needed to be emphasized in the training. And I think if we come up with any on our own, we should just send them to Jackie and Rachel,
Exactly right.
and they can forward them to Liz and Joe.
Yep.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so that was all I had to offer.
Great.
Woo.
Well, so that'll be that.
Before we adjourn, I have a question.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is it appropriate for us to comment on applications for others outside of the South End? I mean, we've been getting the notices from the Office of Historic Preservation about demolition delay applications that BLC is going to be hearing. Is it appropriate for us to comment on those
Let's
as
err
a
on the side of
citizen?
caution. Yeah, let's err on the side of caution, Peter. Just because this is strictly South End Landmark District and not the BLC, and both have different agendas, and we didn't place any of the applications that would be on the BLC or have been on the BLC within this agenda. I would refrain from having a discussion during this open meeting about that.
But you can send a question to staff like that,
Absolutely.
and they
Absolutely.
can respond directly to you.
So if we have an issue like those brewery buildings that might be,
Anything that is listed on the BLC or any other agenda that is not the South End Landmark District, you can reach out to us or the staff that is associated with the district, and they will respond to all of your questions.
May I ask Peter
said to see
what
those
you're
bills.
referring to? What notices?
So I can jump in here really quick. So I mean, if you're not getting those emails, Catherine, we can sort that out offline. But typically, anytime an agenda is posted or there's a Article 85 demolition delay notice, individuals signed up to the lister for the BLC will receive that within their email.
Oh.
And so that's the sort of quickest way that constituents are notified of something happening within their neighborhood or within the city. But if you're not getting that, we can chat offline on how we can make that happen.
Thank you, Jackie.
Of course.
Excellent. Okay, so I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn. Do I
Wow,
hear
I
one?
won't know what to do with the rest of my evening.
I'm gonna have dinner.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
move that we adjourn. Oh, I can make a motion.
You can make a motion,
Can-
Catherine. You are right.
Right.
I'm on Tinder hooks here.
Is it seconded?
Seconded.
Okay, all in favor, voice vote.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's great. Have a great evening, everyone.
Have a great evening.